Pleas. I'm the Voter Service Chair for the League of Women Voters of Geauga. And on behalf of our entire board, we welcome you and thank you for being here. So we're going to open our program with Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able to rise, please do. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, get comfy. I'm going to go through some of our acknowledgments. It takes a lot of people to put together a program like this. We certainly don't do it alone. So we definitely want to thank Kenston for providing this space and obviously this technical support, so that we could meet here and provide a recording of this event. We always want to thank the Chagrin Valley Times as they produce a print voter guide for us each year that would have been included in this past week's Thursday edition, both the Chagrin Valley Times and the Geauga Times Courier. Obviously, we're very happy. We want to thank all the candidates who have made the choice to participate tonight and to connect with voters and the issues spokespeople as well. Your voice matters. Our league volunteers, I'm sure you're looking around. If you look at raise a hand, you see all these LWV t-shirts in the room. These are just some of the people who have come together to work on this event to make this all possible. If during the event, you have a question and you need something, look for someone with an LWV t-shirt. And we have had participation with this event by PAC, which is the Political Action Committee of Kenston. So this is a Kenston club of students who are interested in the political process. So we're thankful for their involvement as well. Okay, we are recording this event. It will be shared in a couple of days on our YouTube site and also on our website. Okay, so we just want to talk a little bit about roles, because we all play an important role in ensuring that we have a successful and productive event. So candidates, your role: present your qualifications and your platform. Focus on yourself, your concerns, your ideas. Discussions need to pertain to the office that you're seeking. Policy differences may be discussed, but should be framed as I questions. The moderator has complete discretion to redirect or end candidate remarks. Now, audience, you have an important role as well. Hopefully, all of you are submitting questions. We ask you to ask questions that are pertinent to the races that we are presenting. We ask you to listen carefully. We ask you not to talk during the event. Some of us of a certain age are having some problems with our hearing. So it can be really disruptive if people around you are talking. So we ask you to be respectful of those around you. And again, we don't anticipate any disruptive behavior, but we will address it if necessary. Okay, so we get a lot of questions about questions. So I want to make sure that, that we have a good understanding of how this process works. We solicit questions for our candidates and about our issues in advance. We have a question portal on our website, as well as a Hey Candidates email address, and we invite the public to submit questions in advance of the event. But then we also encourage people to write questions on the note cards as you come in. Now, if you're sitting here and you think of a question during the event, again, raise your hand, get the attention of one of our league members. They will bring you the materials you need to present a question. Now, our questions are screened against a criteria. The criteria was included out on the table outside, included here, but it's basically things like making sure that the questions are concise, that they don't include extraneous information, that they're pertinent, to the race. So, for example, you're not going to ask a question about immigration policy to our county commissioners because it's not something they have control over. So make sure your questions are pertinent. We will not ask every question submitted. If 5 people ask a question that's essentially the same topic, we're going to combine them and ask one question. You'll see our screening team here. They're editing. They're scratching out extraneous information. They are correcting your grammar. They're fixing your spelling mistakes. So they are trying to create a question that meets all of the criteria that will be helpful, to the public as we're learning about our candidates. So I hope that answers some of the questions about questions. But if you have any others, see me after the event. We're always working to make, our process as transparent and as productive as possible. So format, each race will be presented separately. They will be invited to the stage. They will have a name card in front of them. They will each have 3 minutes to present information about themselves and their platform. Once they've both presented and are reseated, our moderator will begin with the questions. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond. Same process for those presenting an issue. Issues will also be given 3 minutes total. So we've explained to Bainbridge that even though they have 2 issues, they have 3 minutes to use as they see fit. They will be invited together. They will answer the questions, as they deem appropriate. Okay, our empty chair policy. We have 2 policies in play for this event. We have an LWV Ohio policy, and we have an LWV Geauga policy. And those 2 things differ. Under the Ohio policy, and this applies to the state representative race, general assembly races, basically anything that's not a county level race, we have to have 2 or more participants, or we're not permitted to present the race. So you'll see later in the program, this is the reason we were forced to cancel the Ohio representative race for the 35th district. Under the Geauga policy, we are permitted to present the race if only 1 candidate agrees to participate. Okay, a couple final points. We do not distinguish between incumbents and challengers. We do not permit proxies or stand-ins. And I believe this is my last slide here. Candidates who responded, who RSVP'd to this program, have been invited to participate in the gathering that follows this forum, where you can continue the conversation, directly interact with any candidates or issues spokespersons, and pick up material at that time. Candidates will be able to distribute signs and pamphlets and such at that time. So I think that's all. I think we're all grateful to get through the rules, and let's get to this program. Our moderator tonight is Meg Pocket, and I ask you to give her a warm welcome.
Good evening, everyone. Let me go over our order of events this evening. So we have, first we will present our candidates for Court of Common Pleas, Matt Rambo and Mary Jane Trapp. We'll follow that with Bainbridge Township, then Auburn Township, then Kenston Local Schools, followed by the 2 Geauga County Commissioner races. So as we go through, we'll introduce our candidates, invite them to come up and make their opening statements. They'll give their presentation, and once they've both finished their presentations, then we'll present the questions for each race. I wanted to note that our forum participation for Ohio 35 state representative unfortunately had to be canceled. Steve Demetrio was not willing to participate this evening. So due to the Ohio policy for empty chair, we aren't able to present that race. I believe Mark Curtis may be participating afterwards in the candidate mix and mingle afterwards. So first, let's start with our Court of Common Pleas race, and I'd like to invite Matthew Rambo and Mary Jane Trapp up to the stage, and I will invite Matthew Rambo to deliver his introduction first. Our candidates have 3 minutes. Yes, you may. I will step out of your way, and you have 3 minutes to present.
Good evening. I want to apologize. I'm a little under the weather because I have small children, and school started, a month and a half ago, so I'll get through it. I'd like to start by thanking the League of Women Voters, the Kenston School District for hosting tonight's event in the beautiful auditorium. My name is Matt Rambo. I'm a Republican candidate for Geauga County Common Pleas Judge. I'm a graduate of The Ohio State University, holding degrees in both electrical engineering and law. After passing the bar in 2005, I went to work full-time for the Court of Claims of Ohio, which is in Columbus. I served as a magistrate of the court for 7 years, from 2006 until 2013. I had an annual caseload of approximately 125 cases. After getting married and moving to Northeast Ohio, I worked as a staff attorney in the Geauga County Common Pleas Court until 2018, serving under 2 different judges. 2018, I went into private practice as an attorney, first a law firm downtown Cleveland, then a firm in Mayfield, and now my own practice in Chesterland. I'm getting closer and closer to my home in Russell as the years go by. I'm deeply invested in the community. I serve on the boards of the Red Tulip Project and the Burton Middlefield Rotary. I've been a baseball coach for my children. I currently serve as a Russell Township trustee. I believe that a strong community is the foundation of a strong legal system. I am committed to serving the community where I raise my family. I'm running for Common Pleas Judge because I am dedicated to serving the people of Geauga County. And I am passionate about ensuring that our judicial system remains fair, efficient, and just. My experience as a magistrate, staff attorney, and private lawyer has provided me an understanding of the complexities of our legal system. My experience has taught me the importance of impartiality and the need to listen to all sides before making a decision. I believe in the importance of personal responsibility, limited government, and the protecting the rights of individuals. These principles have guided me throughout my personal and professional life. As a Common Pleas Judge, I'm committed to interpreting the law as it is written, not as I or anyone else wishes it to be, and to ensuring that every person who comes before me is treated with dignity and respect. I'm dedicated to reducing case backlogs, improving court accessibility, and ensuring that everyone who comes before the court leaves knowing they received a fair hearing. I will work tirelessly to serve the people of Geauga County with integrity and dedication. In closing, I ask for your support and your vote as I pledge to ensure strong and fair justice for Geauga County. Thank you.
We will now hear from Mary Jane Trapp.
Good evening, and thank you, League of Women Voters of Geauga County and Kenston School District, for providing us this forum tonight. Citizens want to have confidence again in their courts. They want a fair, open, and balanced justice system in which to resolve disputes and protect their rights. The public wants judges who will follow the law and the Constitution, impartial judges, not legislators in black robes. And my record demonstrates my commitment to those ideals. Our families deserve a better life and a better future. They sometimes face obstacles that land them in a courtroom, and that's where the misery happens. Be it a business dispute, an accident that disfigures or even causes a death, a foreclosure, a divorce, a serious criminal case, all who come before the court deserve a judge who has the years of experience in handling these problems in a courtroom. A judge who understands how her decisions are important to that family, that business, one charged with a crime or the crime victim. A judge who will impartially, carefully, and timely hear and decide their case so they will not have to wait months or even years to get the answers they need to move on with their lives and continue to grow their businesses. A judge whose only agenda is to consider the facts, the law, the Constitution, not a predetermined outcome based on who the parties are in the courtroom. After spending 30 years in courtrooms at all levels of the state and federal courts as an attorney, helping ordinary people with their extraordinary problems and advising businesses in their litigation matters, as a Bar Association leader, and as a judge on your Court of Appeals for 12 years, handling over 1,700 appeals and authoring over 800 opinions, I have served by assignment on the Supreme Court of Ohio and 4 other districts in this state by assignment of the Chief Justice of the Ohio Supreme Court. I have earned the trust of those people that I have served because they know that I put the Constitution and the law first without consideration of politics and special interests. That's why community leaders, elected officials, and neighbors ask me to come home and run for an open seat on our trial court. They understand my dedication to the rule of law and my work ethic. Our courts are facing an increased number of cases from those suffering from mental illness, primarily from opioid addiction. Our courts faced with increasing financial complexities and domestic relations cases that are very well charged. I respectfully ask for your vote this November. I'm Judge Mary Jane Trapp. Thank you.
I'd like to draw everyone's attention to our timekeeper down front here in the white League of Women Voters t-shirt. She's keeping time and holding up a clock that shows the decreasing amount of time that our candidates can see as they are presenting and that I can see, so that we make sure things continue to run smoothly. So we have some excellent questions that have been presented, and each candidate will have a minute to respond. The first question, and I'll direct it to Mary Jane Trapp first, and then to Mr. Rambo. Is party affiliation relevant in running for judge?
Well, the simple answer is that our...
Go ahead.
Try that now?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I've got a pretty loud voice.
I do too.
But we want it to be video.
Do you need it for the video?
Yes.
I don't think it's coming through.
You guys hear?
Is the microphone turned on?
You hear up there?
The microphones are on.
Yeah, I don't see a switch on.
There is no switch on it.
No switch.
Go ahead and speak.
Hearing it on audio from the control panel?
Can you tap it?
Yeah. It's very faint.
Maybe?
They are now.
And there we are.
Okay. Now you can hear?
Yeah.
All right. Well, the General Assembly consciously made a decision a few years ago to make the trial court positions, continue those as being nonpartisan. Back when we redid our Constitution at the turn of the 20th century, there was a grand compromise that was made by the people who were amending the Constitution at the time, because they did not want party bosses picking the judges, which is what was happening in the early 1900s. So that's why in the primaries, you have party affiliation. But by statute, you lose that party affiliation in the general. And I truly believe that when partisan labels mean more than substance or experience or the character of a candidate, then we turn judges who are supposed to be impartial guardians of our Constitution and our laws and uphold the rule of law into politicians who wear black robes.
Thank you. Matthew Rambo, is party affiliation relevant in running for judge?
I don't think my microphone's on, but I'll speak loudly. Okay. I think that it is, simply because you have to run as a partisan in the primary. And say you have a contested primary, you have to be the ultra partisan. And people are going to know that. I mean, if you get to a point where you don't want partisan politics to be in the judicial race, judicial candidates shouldn't have to run in any partisan race. But the fact of the matter is we do. Now, they did change the law to permit Supreme Court justices and Court of Appeals justices to run with their party affiliation. I think there was a grand compromise then as well. To get that passed, they dropped the municipal court and common pleas court off of that bill. So it's a basis for people to know who that person is. I might be, a judicial candidate, but I'm also a Republican. I'm a father. I'm a board member. I'm a lot of things. It's just one of the things that make up who I am and who the candidates are.
Thank you. All right. The next question also came from our audience. What injustice have you witnessed either in or outside of the courtroom, and what was your response to that injustice? And we'll start with you first, Mr. Rambo.
So, I'll go with inside the courtroom. One of the things that you get a lot of, especially myself being a small solo practitioner, I have a partner who does bankruptcy, is people call a lot with problems that might not get the attention of a bigger law firm, but they still need help. And so I have participated last year in a Take a Case program from Legal Aid Society, trying to help a woman stay in her apartment that she lived in for 25 years. And I took it pro bono. I put in more work on that case, including 2 hearings in front of the magistrate for 8 hours, than I put in a lot of other cases I've had. And I think it's a unique responsibility that people like me and Judge Trapp have as lawyers to help people as much as they could when otherwise they wouldn't necessarily have access to that help.
Ms. Trapp, what injustice have you witnessed either in or outside of the courtroom, and what was your response to that injustice?
Well, in my early career as a practicing attorney, and by the way, the Geauga County Common Pleas Court, the seat that I'm running for, also is the Domestic Relations Court. So I saw very frequently that children were not being represented properly in their parents' divorce, because many times the children's interest does not completely intersect with the interest of both of those parents. And it's especially difficult when you have children who have mental health issues. I had special training in law school, and then as a young attorney doing work for our probate court and dealing with people and especially children who have mental health issues. So I was appointed in cases, I wish I had more of those cases, where I was able to go in and advocate for those children when I know their parents weren't advocating in their best interest.
Thank you. All right. I have a question that probably will have a shorter answer, and I'll start with you, Ms. Trapp. As a common pleas judge, would you ever have a chance to rule on educational choice, specifically on school vouchers?
Probably not. Usually those cases are going to be brought in Columbus at the 10th District Court of Appeals. However, there have been some recent changes in the law that some things can come back to a local court, but usually those are going to be handled and ultimately decided at a Court of Appeals or Supreme Court level.
Thank you. Mr. Rambo, do you believe you would ever have a chance to rule on educational choice, specifically school vouchers, as a common pleas judge?
Well, I'm going to give the ultimate lawyer answer, which is it depends, but probably not. I agree with Judge Trapp. Those cases are usually brought, and have to be brought in Columbus or in the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. I have no difference of opinion on that one.
Thank you. I am going to ask you one more question, and then probably we'll be done here. and I believe, Mr. Rambo, you should be starting this time.
Sure.
Geauga County has a specialized docket for the new LEAF program for drug offenders. Are there other areas that could utilize such a specialized docket?
Yeah, I've thought about this a little bit. The problem we have here is because we're a small court, we don't get bogged down with specialized dockets and may not qualify in certain circumstances. There are veterans courts. I believe Menor has a mental health docket, Menor Municipal Court. And there's certainly things we can look at. Again, though, the case volume has to be there in order to set up those specialized dockets. And I'm not certain, sitting here tonight, that those would be available to us, but I'd certainly look into them.
All right. Ms. Trapp, do you have a thought about other areas of your docket as a common pleas judge that could benefit from a specialized docket, such as the new LEAF program for drug offenders?
I do. Our new LEAF program, which is a specialized drug court, is fantastic, and it's unfortunately growing. And in my discussions with former, now retired Justice Evelyn Lundberg Stratton, who was one of my mentors and was a leader in developing mental health courts, and in conversations with the judges in common pleas court, I believe that we don't need another specialized docket. What we need to do is expand the docket that we have to bring in more mental health counseling, because, as I said in my opening remarks, more and more cases that are coming before our common pleas court have mental illness issues that are caused by opioid addiction. So we need to bring in more specialists that can work on folks that have serious mental illnesses in order to get them treatment and return them to competency to be able to stand trial if necessary, and also add on veterans treatment to that court.
Thank you. I think I have one final question for the two of you, and that is, what factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants? What do you believe is the primary consideration? And I believe, Ms. Trapp, you begin on this one.
Well, there are actually two primary considerations. There is protection of the public and assuring that that person who's charged with a crime will appear at court. So if someone is a real danger to the public, they're going to get a hearing, and if necessary, they will be remanded without bail or bond until their trial. There are risk factors. There's different scoring that's done. I was one of the 4 co-authors of the Bail Reform Task Force in Cuyahoga County a few years ago, and we have some objective tests that can be done at the beginning of the case to determine, 1, their risk of flight, 2, their risk to the public, and those all have to come into consideration along with financial considerations.
Thank you. Mr. Rambo, what factors are considered in granting and setting bail amounts for defendants, and what do you believe is the primary consideration?
Judge Trapp laid out the factors. The factors are the factors. The primary factor, I think, is the public safety factor. You have to determine, in a county like Geauga County, we're not a huge county, a lot of times we know the people, or somebody knows the person that may be sitting in front of us asking for bail. You know where they live, you know where their kids go to school, you know who they hang out with, you know what bar they drink at. So the flight risk in certain circumstances can certainly be mitigated, but the risk to the public is the biggest factor. Is this person going to return home and take out whatever happened to them on their kids, their dog, their wife, their spouse, their roommate? I think the primary responsibility of the judge at that point is to protect the public and others in the community from that person.
All right. Thank you both very much for participating in our forum and for your insightful answers to our questions.
Thank you.
I would like to invite our representatives from Bainbridge Township Alex Hansel and Paul McClintock as well, yes. And they'll be speaking on both the renewal levy for streets, roads, and bridges and the additional fire and EMS levy. By way of background, the renewal levy for streets, roads, and bridges will be collecting $1,079,000 annually, amounting to $38 for each $100,000 of value. It's a 5-year levy commencing in 2025, so it would first be due on your tax bill in 2026. The additional levy that's proposed is 2.75 mils for fire and EMS, and it would be collecting $2.262 million annually, amounting to $96 for each $100,000 of value. It's a 5-year levy commencing in 2024, so it would first come due in 2025. Gentlemen, have you decided how you want to present? Okay, terrific. And your timer is right in front of you, so if you want to come here to speak, you can, or you can speak from the table.
Good evening, and thank you for taking the time to be here tonight. My name is Alex Hansel, and I serve as the Assistant Service Director for Bainbridge Township. I'd like to take a moment to discuss the renewal levy on this year's ballot. It's important to emphasize that this levy will not increase your current taxes. However, it is crucial for the continued maintenance and safety of our township. It is the Service Department's responsibility to ensure that our township's roads remain functional year-round. We maintain 85 miles of roadway, a critical task that allows residents to travel safely to work, school, and throughout the community. These roads need regular maintenance, including pothole repairs, resurfacing, and snow removal. When a road is neglected, it can begin to break down at an increased rate, creating unsafe travel conditions, and as well as making future repairs more costly. Again, the renewal levy we are requesting is not a new tax and will not increase your taxes. It is a continuation of the funding that has allowed us to maintain such a high level of service, and by renewing this levy, you are directly investing in the infrastructure that helps support us all. In closing, I thank you for your past support and ask that you continue the same by passing this renewal levy. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate this opportunity. My name is Paul McClintock. I am a firefighter paramedic with the Bainbridge Township Fire Department. I've had the privilege to serve this community for 9 years now. Probably one of the best communities I've ever worked for, by far. You don't forget us on the holidays. You stop by and say hi. You come to Easter egg hunt. And that means more to us than you might realize. Also, now we're looking for a little bit more support. We have a levy coming up, as you know. It's 2.75 mil. It's significant, especially in the times that we're in right now. We understand that. But the importance of this is, since the last levy failure, we went from working 6 personnel per shift to we currently work 4, maybe 5. The significance of that is that we used to run 3 ambulances at one time, and we would run 1 fire engine and then 1 tanker to any fire. We currently run with 4 personnel to 5 personnel, maybe 2 ambulances at one time, possibly 1, depending on our staffing levels and what the call's for. We are here to just ask for your support. We know that looking forward to the future is difficult. Right now with the inflation the way it is, it's very high. We understand that as well. Then I think that you also understand that if we don't have funds, you don't have funds, a lot of people are in a difficult place at this time. But to continue to run the way we used to run, we need to pass this nice levy. The levy is no capital improvement at this time. It's just for staffing levels only.
I would like to remind our audience that once we have finished with a particular race or issue, questions for that race or issue are closed. So we won't be bringing people back up who've already spoken. So that's one of the reasons you shouldn't sit on your questions. If you're thinking of something, get it on a card and get it in. All right, so it appears that most of our questions are pertaining to the EMS and fire levy. I have one question that I will direct and let the two of you decide who should answer it. How does a 0.75 mil difference more than double the collected levy amounts? So I think the reference is to the 2.75 mil levy and the 2 mil levy, where the 2 mil levy is about $38 additional for each 100,000, and the 2.75 mil levy is $96 for each 100,000. So help us understand that, gentlemen.
I wish I could. I honestly, I apologize. I do not have that answer for you guys. It's something we can get. But when I was added to the levy committee, we didn't discuss every little detail like that. That's something that will probably be directed towards our trustees. I think that they would probably have the answer to that.
Thank you. Regarding the fire and EMS levy, when was the last levy successful?
The last successful levy was 2011.
2011.
Yes. And in the same dollar amount then is worth the same dollar amount now. We don't get anything extra just because of the cost of your home increases. Everything else changed. That did not change. That stayed consistent.
If the levy passes, and again, this is with respect to the Bainbridge fire and EMS levy, how will the money be spent?
The money, this new levy, last year's levy was directed towards improvements for buildings and ambulance purchases, things like that. This is strictly for staffing levels only, to try and get staffing levels back to where they were so that we can continue to provide the services that we once did.
Okay, and I have one last question regarding the Bainbridge EMS and fire levy. Will services be reduced or cut if the levy does not pass?
They will. And the significance of that is we will run with a minimum of 3 people per day. If somebody's off that day, we will run with 3 guys every day as opposed to a year ago when we were running with 6. The importance of that is, I'll make it simple. If we go to a fire, we used to have 6 people, even having 4 and 5 people. We can still enter your home. If we have 3 people, we can no longer enter your home until our mutual aid arrives. And we depend on our mutual aid to be there, but we also have to be able to give back to them. So if we reduce that staffing, if we can't continue to receive mutual aid, we can no longer give mutual aid. Then we will have no mutual aid. That's the significance of that.
Thank you, gentlemen, for informing us about the Bainbridge Township levies that are on the ballot this year. We don't have anyone present tonight to present regarding the South Russell Village tax levy. It's a 2.75 mil renewal levy to support the police department. It collects about $425,000 annually and amounts to $51 for each $100,000 of home value. It's a 5-year levy commencing in 2025, so it would first appear on your tax bill in 2026, and again, it's a renewal. We will next move on to the Auburn Township levy, so I'd like to invite PJ Kavanaugh to come up and give us a 3-minute summary of the levy, the 0.65 mil levy, which is an additional levy for streets, roads, and bridges.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for offering us this opportunity to explain what's going on in our Auburn Township Road Fund. Yes, it is an additional levy. The amount will replace what will enable us to continue our road program as is. We currently do, we have a township budget of, we bring in annually about north of $4 million. And our road improvement project, these are just resurfacings, new surfacings, things like that. We generally spend between $900,000 and $1 million a year, so it's a big priority for a small township. This upcoming year, we are looking at a project we've been saving for 2 years. It's a subdivision that's not eligible for any outside funding other than township sources. It's a residential subdivision. And that project itself is the road itself is a total failure. It's 20 years old. We're looking at spending upwards of preliminary estimates, about 1.2 million in one subdivision. So costs have exploded in this area. We used to do a 5-year program, but practically with the increases that's been going on lately, our forecasts are now about 3 years out. So the big subdivision called Moreland is this year over $1 million. We're set to move with that. Next year, we're applying for OPWC funds from the state to do a joint project with Manaway Township. And then 27 will be the last section of our east-west collector streets. That would be the east end of Stafford. That preliminary is looking at about 500,000, 600,000 there. So we want to maintain this pace we've been on. I thank the voters for all the support they've given us over the history, or the year times that I've been up there. A little bit about our road department. We do 54, in excess of 54 miles of road. We maintain that with a staffing of 6 full-time guys, that's it. Two men have retired here in the last couple of months that we're hiring right now. Anybody's interested? We are looking to get back to full force before winter. We think we're going to be able to do that. We have some quality candidates. I think we run a tight ship. Funding has been difficult lately. We just want to maintain the program we've been on for the past 20 years. And I would just ask voters for their support. Thank you.
I do have a question for you, sir. Mr. Kavanaugh, are these yours?
Yes, they are.
We've all done. All right, so I do have a question about the Auburn Township tax levy. Can you explain the clerical error that was made on the last Auburn road levy, and how are you making sure another error doesn't happen again?
Okay, so what's going to happen there, and I'm glad you asked that. In 2018, our board intended to renew a levy 1 year early. We started that process somewhere between our board and the Board of Elections. The ball got dropped. Okay, so what happened was that levy expired, ceased collection in 2019, should have. It did not. I want to remind everyone, Auburn Township does not send your tax bills. That comes from a higher pay grade than Levy does. So that continued to be collected for 3 years. That was just discovered approximately a year ago right now. What's going to happen, and we've worked with the auditor's office, we've followed all their directions and their suggestions. The county, I believe, led by the auditor, but there's the prosecutor's office involved, the treasurer's involved. They're going to cut checks back to every single taxpayer, whether you were here for 2 of those years, whether you died in 2020, your state's going to get a check. It's quite a thorough program. It's going to all be refunded. That levy, obviously, that was 1 mil, brought in 265,000. That's why we came up with this approximately 2/3 of a mil. We're just looking to stay at the same rate we were, which was the intention all along. So there was no funds were misspent. They shouldn't have been collected, no doubt. We're not the tax collecting agency in this county, but we did spend everything responsibly on roads, and we intend to do the same should this fund pass.
So just a follow-up question on that. Was there someone whose role in the township should have caught that as it was happening? So for example, is it the fiscal officer who should have caught it? Was there someone else who maybe wasn't paying attention when this continued to happen? And I'm going to ask you to face the audience when you answer, so then you talk into the microphone and you are recorded.
Okay. Yeah, our funds are distributed from the Geauga County Treasurer after property taxes are paid, February, July. Our budgets are approved by the County Budget Commission, which is the prosecutor's office, the auditor's office, the treasurer's office. The fact that this levy wasn't renewed, you know, I would say that our mistake, if we made one, and we did, was to renew a levy early that we really didn't have to. There was some opinion given that townships should have the opportunity to have 2 shots at replacing a levy. So if the first renewal didn't work, we could run it again the next year. Auburn Township voters have been more than supportive. It was probably something we really didn't need to do, and that was causing the original confusion. But I'm gonna say beyond that, no, we don't, our budgets were approved, our funds were distributed. We didn't decide what they were, the county did, all the way up to the Ohio Department of Taxation.
Okay.
The prosecutor's office called this unprecedented. So,
Thank you. I appreciate your frankness in responding to that question. I don't believe we have any more questions regarding the Auburn Township streets, roads, and bridges levy. So thank you very much for your answers and participation.
well, thank you.
So next, I would like to invite up to the podium Seth Kales, who is the treasurer for the Kenston School Department, or School Board of Education. And he will be speaking about Kenston's levy, which is a 1 mil levy. It's an additional levy for general permanent improvements, collecting $1,196,000 annually, amounting to $35 for each $100,000 of value over 5 years, commencing in 2024, so first payable in 2025. And you know where the timer is right now.
All right. I'd like to say thank you to the League of Women Voters for having me here today to speak. I appreciate the time. So we currently have a 5-year, 1 mil permanent improvement levy on, and it's important to make a distinction that it's only 5 years in play. Now this will collect about $1.2 million per year, and it's also important to note that 85% of schools in Ohio have a permanent improvement levy. So we are one of the 15% who do not. So what is this used for? This permanent improvement levy is used for capital expenditures that meet 2 criteria. It has to have a useful life of 5 years or more and cost $5,000 or more. So why do we need the PI levy? So we have aging infrastructure. Our buildings are aging. It's costly to maintain the buildings, the safety, the well-being of our buildings to make sure, that they're suitable for our children to get educated in the academics and curriculum. And we're going to use these for various capital expenditures. Those include safety and security improvements, technology infrastructure, HVAC, parking lot circuits, maintenance of the parking lot, any general repairs to the building. What it will not be used for are salary and wages. So that's a very important distinction. There are certain criteria that have to be met, and we can only use these funds for the upkeep of our buildings. Now, why is this PI levy important to the school district? It's going to reduce the need to transfer money from the general fund to the PI fund, which we've been doing. So by safeguarding the general fund, we can better allocate these resources to classroom instruction, curriculum improvements, and student support services. It also allows us to push the need for a much larger operating levy down the road. Our last ask was about 10 years ago when we passed our last operating levy. This is a much smaller PI levy. And since then, we have done many things, such as consolidating the buildings, reducing our staffing levels through attrition, and making sure that we're trying to extend the last operating levy that was passed as long as we possibly can. That is the goal. So through the consolidation, through right sizing, making sure that we look at our staffing levels each and every year, right? We manage our staffing levels through this natural attrition, and then also coupling that with getting a PI levy. We believe we will be able to extend that need for an operating levy a couple of years down the road. So that's why it's important to us.
Mr. Kales, I do have some questions for you from our audience. So first, I want to ask you, how did the school district pay for construction of the field house and the new weight room that was earmarked, I think, for the football team?
Yeah, that was a very generous donation by the Brewer family. So that was 100% donated by a private family. None of the expenditures came out of the district's funds at all. None of them came out of the general funds or any other fund. There was a 100% private donation by that family. The building will be donated. They are raising money as well for the weights to outfit the weight room. All that money is going to be donated, and there's going to be no expense to the district. So I think we've had this question come up a lot where people say, you're using money to construct this weight room. No, it was 100% funded by the donation. There were no taxpayer dollars used to create this building. So we are very thankful for the generous donation and happy that our student athletes will be able to take advantage of the weight room.
So we have a couple of questions that have come in that kind of overlap a little bit. And the questions are, what services will suffer if the levy doesn't pass? And if the levy doesn't pass, what might Kenston's future look like? So I think they kind of overlap, and I'll let you answer those kind of in a consolidated way.
Sure. So what will suffer? So right now, during one of the presentations at one of the board meetings, we do about a $575,000 transfer from the general fund to the PI fund. We've done that for the past, 5-6 years. This last year, we transferred about $1.2 million because as our buildings and facilities age, that need grows. So we have a backlog of projects which we want to get to. So how does this impact the district? Like I alluded to earlier, classroom instruction, curriculum improvements, student support services, these are all funded by the general fund. So when you do that transfer, you're taking money away from the general fund, which supports all those things that I just said, classroom instruction, curriculum improvements. So as time goes on, those functions will be supported less because you have to maintain the safety, security, and upkeep of the buildings.
I'm going to follow that question on with this one. Between the closure of KIS and the increase in property taxes due to last year's revaluation, Kenston now has an additional approximately $2 million of revenue. In light of this, why is the permanent improvement necessary?
Yeah, so the 6-year revaluation added about $1.1 million. We did the consolidation, which also saved about $1.2 million. So this was 2 parts of a 3-pronged approach. We are deficit spending, right? And as you've heard everybody up here say so far, we are on a fixed income as well, meaning each levy is passed. As the reevaluations occur, the appraisals go up year over year, we still collect that same dollar amount. That's called House Bill 920. So this 5-year levy would only collect that $1.2 million now and in its 5th year. So it's very important to make that distinction. So this 3-pronged approach, getting that additional $1.2 million would save us from doing the transfer from the general fund to the PI fund and allow us to extend that need for the much larger operating levy. So So there are three things we looked at: consolidation, that reappraisal, and the PI levy, which will help us extend the need for the outline.
Okay. So, can this PI levy money be used for safety issues?
Absolutely. Like everybody alluded to here, the cost and expenditures they're just outpacing our revenues, right? And so some of the things that this can be used for are safety cameras throughout the buildings, throughout the grounds, servers and whatnot that go along with it. Also, like structural safety improvements. These are things that at least those two criteria for capital expenditures, which would be $5,000 or more in a useful life of 5 years or longer. This money can be used towards that. We had some safety cameras installed around the district so far. We want to increase those number of safety cameras. There's something called Zero Eyes. It's a software technology. Berkshire uses it. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. We're looking into potentially upgrading all of our cameras throughout the district to make sure that if we decide to implement that, our cameras can support that software. These are things that PI money can be used for to make our district more safe.
Is the construction of a new classroom building still being considered?
So we have a bond going off in 2029. So it's important to make a distinction. A bond levy is much different than a permanent improvement levy. A bond levy is used for the construction of buildings or classrooms, whereas a permanent improvement levy, such as the one that we have on the ballot, is going to be used for the upkeep of what we currently have. So the answer is we wouldn't use this to create new educational buildings, right? A bond levy is typically much larger in dollar value. So a bond levy, we have one that's the high school's rolling off in 29. But this permanent improvement levy is going to be used to keep our buildings and maintain this beautiful auditorium, the stage, the lights, different things like that in here. Our grounds, the parking lots, to make sure there's no potholes. The purchase of our buses, to make sure that we're on a good replacement schedule so that our students can be transported safely to and from school. That's what this is going to use.
So these funds would not be used or earmarked for the construction of a new building?
That is correct. So a PI levy, yes, is not used for the construction. That would be a bond.
Okay. Is a bond levy being considered as well for the future?
I think it's always good to kind of look ahead and know when things are rolling off and to start planning ahead in 2029. Right now, our focus is really on doing our best to show the need for a PI levy and also show that, hey, remember, it says permanent improvement. It's not a permanent levy. It's a 5-year levy. So we want to be transparent and accountable to the taxpayers if this were to pass, so that they know, hey, the money that they're getting from us, they are spending it wisely, they're utilizing it, they're doing what they say they're going to do, they're maintaining the transparency by showing us what they're going to spend it on. They have a plan in place that shows, they've looked ahead and know exactly, where to earmark these expenditures. So those are the type of things that we're focusing on right now. But we are cognizant that there is a bond rolling off in 2020.
I have another audience question for you, and that is, what are the population trends showing in terms of enrollment for the future?
Yeah, so I think it's important to know we are experiencing decreasing enrollment. I think that is not a Kenston phenomenon. That is a statewide phenomenon. Our enrollment has gone down a little bit each year. Birth rates are going down over the state as well, right? There's many various reasons. We are hoping for, an influx of some people. I know like Geauga Lake Parcel Rate, there's development going on there. So Kenston is really a destination district. So I think, a lot of people are experiencing kind of declining enrollments, declining birth rates and whatnot. We are experiencing those to a lesser degree than other districts throughout the state of Ohio, but it is a state phenomenon. There are a few districts who are increasing but this is a state phenomenon. So we recognize that, and we're making sure that, we're adjusting staffing through natural attrition appropriately to make sure that we use taxpayer funds appropriately.
Thank you, Mr. Kales, for answering all of the many questions that the audience had for you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
The next race we'll be considering is the race for, Geauga County Commissioner for a term commencing on January 3rd, 2025. The candidates for that position are Bonnie Cavanaugh and Ralph Spitaleri. Mr. Spitaleri is not attending this evening, and because of our Geauga County League of Women Voters open chair and to chair policy, we will allow Ms. Cavanaugh to respond to questions.
We can move that mic closer.
Ms. Cavanaugh, can you see in front of you where our timer is sitting there in the white League of Women Voter shirt? Excellent. All right, you may begin your 3-minute introduction for us.
Should I just start? Hi, I'm Bonnie Cavanaugh. I'm from Middlefield. I've lived there 32 years. I'm married to my husband Dave for 41 years. We have 2 adult children, Holly and Kyle. And I don't have any grandchildren, but I am known as Aunt Bonnie to a lot of people. In speaking with many constituents, I learned that most people just weren't sure what a county commissioner does. In Geauga County, there's 3 persons elected to as county commissioners, 2 of which are elected during this general election. They are responsible for overseeing the county's interests at the state and federal levels, participating in long-range planning, the county budget and finances, and the hiring authority over the following: the building department, community and economic development, department on aging, dog warden, Department of Emergency Services, Job and Family Services, the Maintenance Department, Transit, and Water Resources. The commissioners are also serve on various boards: the Board of Revision, the County Records Commission, and the Planning Commission. They approve levy taxes, and they're responsible for hearing rulings on annexations, and the improving and disposing of solid waste. So you must be thinking to yourselves, why? Why would I, Aunt Bonnie, want to be a commissioner? Well, it's because I found that myself on the path preparing for this position for the past 30 years. As a matter of fact, I'm the most prepared candidate with both education and related job experiences to run for this position in the last 12 years. I earned 2 college degrees. I worked in corporate accounting for 10 years as an area accountant. I worked in law firms assisting with criminal matters. I worked for the Geauga County Juvenile Court as a legal services clerk, preparing cases for the appellate court. And I served Geauga and Lake counties as a board member for the Educational Service Center for 10 years. What else can I offer you? I plan to be a full-time commissioner, not part-time, like the job may describe. And I'm going to attend all of the meetings, and I'll be one who listens to the community and responds to your inquiries in a timely fashion. After all, I will be working for you. Please please vote for me, Bonnie Kavanaugh, on November 5th, 2024.
Thank you, Mrs. Kavanaugh. We have a few questions here for you.
Okay.
So, right now, the commissioners provide no virtual options for attending meetings and historically take 2 to 3 months to publish minutes of their weekly meetings. What will you do to ensure that the public has timely access to meeting information?
Well, the first part of their problem with preparing for something to go virtual like that, they have to actually approve their minutes in a timely fashion. They aren't even approving them until 2 or 3 months later. We've really been depending on the wonderful League of Women Voters to publish the minutes as they are for us in a timely fashion. I really thought you guys should get paid for this. But I will make sure that their minutes are posted. I'll check myself to see that they're being done in time and that they're going up without any problems. I mean, obviously, there's always technical problems, but those shouldn't last more than a day or two.
Thank you. Next question. How would you communicate about openings on boards and commissions over which the commissioners have appointment power? What criteria would you use to choose individuals to serve on those boards or commissions?
I'm sorry, it's kind of a...
It was a two-part question. That wasn't fair. Let's start with the first one.
Okay.
How would you communicate with the community about openings on boards and commissions over which the commissioners have appointment power?
Well, first of all, I really think the minutes should just be virtual as well. I don't think anything should be held back. However, I disagree on the way some of the discussions are held at the commissioners' meetings. Some of those things should have been held in executive session. But those things that are held in public should be public, and nothing should be left out.
In terms of making appointments to boards and commissions where the county commissioners have appointment power, what criteria would you use to choose those individuals?
Well, each of those board or commissioner, those meetings have agendas. So I would make sure that whatever needed to be discussed was on the agenda. And I believe the agenda should be public as well. I think I've been fortunate enough to receive the agendas via email and before the meetings take place. And so I think just making sure that you review the agendas in a timely fashion so that nothing gets left out and they can be handled in a timely fashion. If something's brought to me, I'm going to make sure it's brought to everyone's attention.
Okay. What are your top priorities for a 5-year strategic plan for Geauga County?
Oh, I love this question. Excuse me. Safety and health. I think there's been a real ignore. Things for those 2 areas have really been ignored. I don't think that people are able to access the services that they're supposed to be able to access from the county because they don't know where to go. There needs to be a stronger communication to the public. I myself knew where to look because I have a legal background, but the average citizen isn't going to know how do you get that wheelchair from the state, or is everything being reported as results of an accident or something that needs to be brought to people's attention? I'm sorry, am I ending?
That's all right.
You can ask me later.
So, this kind of dovetails with the health issue, and that is, under Ohio EPA regulations, some Geauga communities may be at risk for mandated public sewer systems. how should the commissioners plan for these kinds of costly infrastructure projects, and how can they minimize the impact to homeowners?
Well, first of all, there is money available through the county to assist low-income families with matters. As far as what's mandated, everything can go to court. You can always argue your matter in front of the courts. But there is money available. And it may not be, if you're about, the aging department has money for certain things. People that need a roof. I mean, this is an example of where someone was able to access money. If they were able to access it for your roof, I would think they should be able to access it for a sewer system. After all, the county is responsible for your water resources and solid waste and disposal.
Thank you. So, what administrative changes would you make at the Board of County Commissioners to better support Geauga County taxpayers?
Well, until I'm elected to that position, my personal opinion won't matter. And that because that type of matter should be held in executive session, discussed with the other commissioners and the administrator and whoever else is there, and anybody that is being considered for hire or actually dismissed, should their personal actions should not be brought up in public. And I really disagree with some of those things that happened in the past.
So as an administrative matter, in terms of overall management of the way the Board of County Commissioners operate, are there specific things that you think should be changed? And if you were elected, what would your priorities be in that regard?
Well, yes, I point them to the, I'm sorry to keep doing that. I obviously would want to make sure that the meetings were held according to the statutes, and it would have to be done immediately upon my taking over.
Okay. Last question for you, Mrs. Kavanaugh. What actions would you take if you were elected as county commissioner to ensure that Geauga County is both a desirable and an affordable place to live?
I've been here a long time. My family has been here a long time. I'd like to make sure that everything is clean, safe. I'd like to make sure that the businesses that are even passing through our townships and our villages and our city are acting responsibly and making sure that people are safe. And I'd like to make sure that we bring in more doctors, because right now we have a huge shortage of medical assistance. So I know my niece, I couldn't believe it, she had to have a traveling doctor to deliver her baby. She didn't have a doctor that she got to see every week or every month during her pregnancy, and she didn't know who would be showing up on the day the baby decided to show up. So there's been many doctors that have retired, and we need to do more to help the hospital prove who they are and bring in more doctors and keep and retain them. So that would be a priority.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your attendance and sharing your ideas with us this evening.
Thank you.
All right.
Can I just add one thing? If anybody's interested, I have
No, I'm sorry, your time is up. If you want to speak with folks afterwards at our candidate open house, you may do that then. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to invite up our other two candidates for Geauga County Commissioner for term commencing January 2nd, 2025, Carolyn Brakey and Garrett Westhoven. Ms. Brakey, I'd like to invite you up to do your 3-minute presentation. And just so you know, would our timekeeper please raise so everyone knows where to look for that. You can deliver your remarks from the table or you can come to the podium, it's your preference.
Did you call me? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Yes, you're up first. Radnophobia. Does anyone know what that is? It's the fear of magic. Now, I'm not necessarily afraid of magic itself, but magicians, they make me very uncomfortable. Especially the idea of being pulled into a magic show to play some unknowing part in someone else's illusion. Well, I recently tested this fear of mine at the Geauga County Bar Association dinner, where the evening's entertainment was a magician. He was looking for a volunteer, and next thing I know, we were making eye contact. We locked eyes, and suddenly I was part of this magic show. It was really uncomfortable, but I survived, and his illusions were all in good fun, unlike some of the tricks in politics today. And during my campaign, there have been other lighthearted yet uncomfortable moments, like when I spent 20 minutes in a dunk tank at Montville's Community Day. But there's also been some darker, uncomfortable moments, like when I've been screamed at in public in front of my young children. And look, if I'm elected your next Geauga County Commissioner, I understand that discomfort comes with the job. Since being appointed to the Board of Health in March of 2022, I've been called names, and I've had my faith, my competency, and my character attacked. But I've remained focused, authoring Ohio's first COVID school guidance advising against compulsory masking. Soon after, school mask mandates fell like dominoes, not just across Geauga, but across our entire state. At Board of Health meetings where I led effort to cut waste and streamline government, my fellow board members and I have been yelled at by township trustees and others defending the broken status quo. But just the same, we successfully restructured Geauga Public Health, saving taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars annually while maintaining Geauga's sovereignty. And even tonight, at this very forum where many candidates have chosen not to attend, I'm here. And while I understand and respect those who have opted out, I'm appearing in the spirit of transparency and open public discourse. Meaningful change in government, I believe it's never easy, and none of my accomplishments in public service came from a place of comfort. I believe my record shows I'm uniquely equipped to make meaningful change in Geauga County, even in the face of resistance. I'm Carolyn Brakey, and I'm not done being uncomfortable. I would be honored to earn your vote as your next Geauga County Commissioner on or before November 5th. Thank you.
Good evening. I apologize, local have small children who have brought me some funny diseases. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Garrett Westhoven. I live in Chesterland, Ohio, and I am running for Geauga County Commissioner. I'll begin by telling you a bit about myself. I'm a married father of two with a 9-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. I have almost 20 years of experience as a software engineer. As an engineer, it's my job to solve problems, and I want to bring that problem-solving ability to the Commissioner's office. The first job of the Commissioner is to be stewards over taxpayer dollars and to be fiscally responsible. While commissioners have generally done a good job of being penny-wise, all too often they've been pound-foolish. For example, while the merits of a new building can be debated, if we do build it, it needs to be properly built. Unfortunately, the county failed to do so, which resulted in the Board of Elections suing commissioners. Things like this require our county prosecutor to recuse himself and force tax dollars to be spent on outside lawyers, and for the county to fix mistakes they made in the initial build. This lack of attention to detail in order to save a few pennies easily cost us tens of thousands of dollars. The second I'd like to address is government transparency. It's the 21st century and technology is everywhere. Posting minutes online or relying on local reporting for commissioners' meetings is insufficient. There's no reason we can't broadcast meetings online via YouTube and let people watch them if they are not able to attend on a Thursday morning. This can be done virtually for free, and for a nominal fee can be done with fairly decent quality. Portage County has already been doing this for years, and there's no reason we can't do the same. Well, we also need to talk about communication. The communication between our county offices appears to be abysmal. Lack of communication all too often forces our county prosecutor to recuse himself because different parts of the county government need to sue each other. The $770,000 tax bill dropped on the Mess Involved Center is one thing that could have been resolved months earlier with communication. Now the commissioners and auditor are in opposition, so the prosecutor must recuse himself, forcing tax dollars away from county needs, potentially forcing cut services for those who depend on Mess Involved. We have another large project in our courthouse that is already getting bogged down because of lack of communication. This lack of communication or stubbornness on behalf of various parties is only going to cost us more money in the end. And there's no reason to force other county officials to work in dilapidated buildings because various parts of county government won't effectively communicate. I'm an engineer because I like solving problems, and I want to have your vote so I can apply these skills to our county government. Thank you for your time, and I hope you have your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you both. We have a few questions for you. Mr. Westhoven, I'll let you answer this one first, and then Ms. Brady. The Open Public Meetings Act, the Sunshine Law, does not require that an official meeting allow public comment. Do you feel that there is value in permitting public comment, and how would you structure such public comment if you were elected as a county commissioner?
Yes, I absolutely believe there should be public comment at every commissioner's meeting. I really like the way the West Geauga School Board does this, where they allow you to state your name, where you live, and while they don't necessarily officially comment on that meeting, they take it under advisement so they can comment after they've had a discussion. I think there's no reason we can't do this at a county commissioner meeting. The commissioners, that is the time for the public to interact with commissioners, and that is a time for them to listen to what the public has to say. So I think absolutely there should be a public comment period at every single commissioner's meeting. Thank you.
Ms. Brakey, do you feel that there's value in permitting public comment at commissioners' meetings, and how would you structure such public comment if you were elected?
So I agree with my opponent. I do believe that there is value in a public comment. Certainly the government should be working for the people, and that's a great way to get input from the people. I think that public comment should occur after the meeting, the business of the meeting, but before any executive session. I've been in meetings where there's a long executive session and the public is kind of patiently waiting to give comment, and I think that's rude for people that showed up to the meeting. So I think that's an important thing, and I think it's good to have some sort of structured policy, which I know the commissioners have promised and has not been delivered as far as, amount of comment and how those public comments will be delivered. So I think having a policy, having it appear on the agenda would be a good sign too, and a structured policy in place.
Ms. Brakey, what strengths do you bring to build effective relationships with fellow commissioners, other county officials, and county agencies and staff?
Well, I've been on the longest job interview of my life this past 18 months, and a big part of that has been forming relationships with different stakeholders within our county. And that includes, I've had coffee with every one of the commissioners. I've met with many of our other elected officials in the county. I've had meetings with our directors that would be below the commissioners. I could go on and on, but I have a lot of, and frankly, personal relationships, friendships with a lot of these people now, and I believe they respect me. And so I don't think I'd be going in adverse to any of them on day one.
Thank you. Mr. Westhoven, what strengths do you bring to build effective relationships with fellow commissioners, other county officials, and county agencies and staff?
One of the things you learn as a software developer is that there are a lot of competing interests when you try to build something. And that goes true for government relations as well. I think there are various parts of the county that occasionally will have competing interests, and your job as commissioner is to work with those competing interests and make sure that everything is properly balanced. You need to work with different people. You've been under basically one party rule in this county for a long time. I have every incentive in the world to make sure I work with everyone I'm involved with. To have a change, you need to be able to work differently. I'm willing to work differently and cross party lines to communicate and get things done. Regardless of your party affiliation, we all have the same interest in making sure our tax dollars are appropriately spent and that government work gets done efficiently. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Westhoven, how would you advertise or communicate out regarding openings on boards and commissions over which commissioners have appointment power? And what criteria would you use to choose individuals for those boards and commissions?
To effectively advertise the boards, we just need to make sure that we publish things in local communications, whether that be local papers. We need to make sure we get the word out to, maybe have some online postings, make sure things are posted on the commissioner's website, make sure it's done in a timely fashion as well. As far as picking people for those boards, we need to make sure that we pick people who have at least a basic working understanding of what that board does. We don't want to put someone on the mental health board who denies current modern treatments for mental health. We don't want to pick someone on the health board who denies basic things recommended by the CDC. We need to pick people who have at least an understanding of how things should get done and what at least the current understanding of things are. Thank you.
Ms. Brakey, how would you advertise or communicate openings on boards and commissions over which the commissioners have appointment power? And what criteria would you use to choose individuals for those boards and commissions?
I believe the League of Women Voters right now on their website has a list of all the boards the commissioner appoint to and when those appointments come up and who is on those boards, but the commissioner's office does not have that information, curiously enough. So I would love to see that on the commissioner's website. Honestly, I would love to see a social media page. I found out about the opening on the Board of Health through a social media post. I think that's often how Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, how we get information a little quicker, is not refreshing the commissioner's website or looking in a newspaper, but through social media. So I would like to see that. And as far as qualifications, obviously you just look at resumes and submitted materials, cover letters, those sort of things, and find the most qualified person among the applicants.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Brakey, what is your position on what the county should do if the courthouse expansion project exceeds the budgeted amount?
Well, that's a complicated question. I think that's one of those roads I'd have to go down as it comes. But, part of that is knowing how the contract with these various contractors is worded and what's necessary and what's not going forward. So, I think that's just, you'd have to deal with it when it comes. It's already a very expensive project, though. It's costing taxpayers a lot. And I'm concerned about any sort of overruns that would cost taxpayers more.
Mr. Westhoven, what is your position on what the county should do if the courthouse expansion project exceeds the budgeted amount?
I think we'd have to look at how much it's exceeding the amount. If it's only a small amount of money, I think it's reasonable to look at, moving some other county dollars around to hopefully finish that project. If it starts to go way over budget in terms of millions or tens of millions of dollars, which I certainly have significant concerns about, we need to really reevaluate what's going on there, and see if we can redo things. If it's going to be something that blows past the budget by an exceeding amount, I think we would probably have to force, some sort of levy vote to see if it's worth the taxpayers to consider if that first project is what they really want to do, or if we need to go in a new direction.
Thank you. Mr. Westhoven, will you attend NOACA meetings to represent Geauga County? And then qualify your answer with a why or why not.
Yes, as a county commissioner, I would attend NOACA meetings. The job of the county commissioners is to represent the interests of county taxpayer dollars. And if our taxpayer dollars are going to NOACA, we need someone who's going to go to those meetings and make sure that we are getting something out of NOACA. I know that there have been complaints about NOACA within this county, and if we, our commissioners, are not attending those meetings and NOACA is not delivering anything for us, then maybe it's some time we should pull out of it. I know it is a good faith effort to do something good for our community, but if we are not getting any return on that investment, then it's not serving its purpose and it's not helping Geauga. So yes, I would attend, and that's why I would attend. Thank you.
Ms. Brakey, would you attend NOACA meetings to represent Geauga County as a county commissioner? Why or why not?
Yes, I would attend, of course, because it's part of the job and I'm going to do the job. But they are downtown, so that's rough for us Geaugans. I don't know about you guys, but anytime I have to go downtown, I'm like, these are a lot of cars around me. It stresses me out. I like to see the Amish buggies personally, not people, telling me I'm number one as I'm driving. But of course I will go because I'm going to do this job and I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to advocate for Geauga because we need to claw back all of our gas tax that we can from NOACA so that we can pay for our roads and our bridges. And if we don't have an advocate at NOACA meetings making sure that Geauga gets its fair share of those tax dollars, we lose our seat at the table. So I'll be an advocate there.
All right. One last question, and we'll begin with you, Ms. Brakey. In your opinion, is supporting the Geauga County Airport a funding priority for Geauga County?
Oh, well, I don't know if I would say it's certainly not a top priority, but I do think it is a priority. So as I've been going to commissioners meetings for the last 18 months, what I've noticed is that the commissioners or the airport has applied for various grants, and the commissioners have put in a very small amount, and then there's the Federal Aviation has put in a larger amount of that grant. So it does seem like they've been making some wise investments in that. It's kind of a penny for Geauga and a pound from the feds. And so as far as that goes, I understand it. I understand the value that the airport provides to our community, and it is one of many priorities, I would say.
Mr. Westhoven, do you feel that supporting the Geauga County Airport is a funding priority for the county?
I think I agree with Ms. Brakey over here. I don't think it is a top priority for the county, but it is something that we should consider. It does seem to have a good return on our investment. The Geauga community seems to really appreciate having the airport here. There seems to be quite a bit of enthusiasts around the area who enjoy the flight. I know it does a good return for the community, particularly when they have an event where the kids can fly in planes and things like that. It seems a lot of people really like that. I think it'd be a shame to just not get rid of that because we don't want to pinch a few pennies here. So while it is certainly not like a top level priority compared to something like the courthouse or something like that, it is something that we do need to invest in and make sure that it has a good return on investment and our community members appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you both for your thoughtful answers and sharing your views in response to our various questions. And thank you for participating this evening. It helps us to make sure that Geauga voters are fully informed as they make their voting decisions. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you all of some very important upcoming dates. October 7th is voter registration deadline. Check your registration, make sure it's up to date, and ensure that you're able to participate in our democratic process. From October 8th to November 3rd, early in-person voting is happening at the Board of Elections. So you can check the Board of Elections website or the League of Women Voters website to find out what the hours are. They vary a little bit day to day. November 4th, mailed absentee ballots must be postmarked by November 4th, the day before Election Day. So if anyone you know is doing a mail-in ballot, make sure they've got it to the post office and postmarked by November 4th, and November 5th is our Election Day. Out in the atrium area, we will have our candidates following this evening's presentation. And to learn more about candidates and issues, please visit Vote 411, which is, you can go to www.vote411.org. There's also a link on the League of Women Voters of Geauga website, which is www.lwvgeauga.org. Thank you very much for attending this evening.